Helen Mirren has come out and said she doesn't want to see a female James Bond. Well, I think that almost everyone would agree with her. So James Bond, of course, going through some changes in terms of who is shepherding the IP over at Amazon Studios. From Variety, Helen Mirren doesn't want to see a female James Bond. The character is drenched and born out of profound sexism. We'll get the synopsis. This is from J. Kim.
I don't want to see a female Q.
Well,
which you have.
That's a joke. That's a joke.
Yeah. Let's if you would, Badger.
Yeah. As Amazon MGM prepares to reboot the James Bond franchise, David Heyman and Amy Pascal, Helen Mirren has voiced her long-standing dislike for the series, criticizing its portrayal of women as sexist and outdated. While Hollywood has debated casting a female Bond, Mirren rejects the idea, arguing that the character's history is inherently rooted in sexism and advocating instead for real stories about courageous women in espionage. Meanwhile, the James Bond franchise is undergoing a major shift, with Amazon MGM taking creative control from longtime producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson.
Look, we've been talking about James Bond has been in the news. There's talk of recasting. Obviously, they have to recast after Daniel Craig exited the role and died. His version of James Bond died. Sorry, spoilers. I like that. I mean, look, all those snarky lines from James Bond. How do you do them and not be somewhat sexist? It's entertaining. Maybe it's of an era. Maybe it should be a period film set in the 60s. I don't know. But I just think that a female anything. We just did a video. I showed video of John Carpenter at the Academy Museum during a screening of The Thing in 4K. He addressed that the people who own the IP for Escape from New York, want to do a female-led version. He didn't say he thought that was a bad idea. He did say, why can't Kurt Russell play him now? Why can't that just happen?
I thought he did say he didn't want a female version of that.
He didn't explicitly say that. He just said there's no reason. He didn't see a reason why Kurt Russell cannot play Snake Plissken. Kurt Russell does not want to reprise the role. Fine, whatever. But what do we think of this? And I'll just say this. I think Helen Mirren is based. And if you look up old photos of her, she's freaking hot.
She's one to talk about sexism.
You know what they should do is go back to the original Ian Fleming books, because they are way more sexist, way more misogynist, way more of their time. It would be much more interesting to examine those books within the context of their era. They're much more hardcore than the fluffy stuff that even the Sean Connery James Bond became.
Here's the question: if you produced a sexist James Bond movie today, would it make money?
Huge.
You know it would.
Yeah, I agree. Huge. Have sexy women in it. There's always the thing of Bond girls through history, right? And they're sexy. They have funny names.
Yeah, I mean, but they can't do that shit now. They can't have funny writer.
What if they did? What if
there's no one with the balls to do it? Just stop listening to the minority of idiots on social media. Don't listen to them. They do not represent the majority of people. And also, we can easily recognize, we know it's sexist. Okay, people don't act like that. It's for entertainment. Well, they don't act like that as much.
A lot of vagina.
As much.
Yeah, pussy galore, honey rider, octopussy. I mean, a lot of
vagina.
You probably can't do that anymore, but you know,
behave.
No, look, I agree with Helen Mirren, man. I think Helen Mirren is a Soviet era actress. Okay, like she's old school, man, and I she's right. I mean,
she was sexist.
I don't know if sexism was the right word for her to use. Maybe misogyny might be a better word.
Yeah.
Misogyny might be a better word than sexism. But she's right though. We don't need a female Bond, and I don't understand why any woman, right, would want to be a female Bond. Like, why wouldn't they want to be like their own thing? Like, why would they want to take on the mantle of something that's traditionally a man for like the past 50 years?
Well, would there be a woman
who want to be a Bond girl? I mean,
but there were women.
Well, Bond girl, yes, but not Bond.
Women were hugely important in the spy game back in the Ian Fleming days, but they gave their bodies away. They sexually compromised the enemy. They were in there, so to speak.
But see, but that goes back to what I said like a few weeks back when I don't think James Bond works in the modern era. I think James Bond only works in a Cold War type era, man.
Totally agree.
So here's the thing: if they're going to continue to do James Bond anything, it needs to be a period piece. Like, they can't do modern James Bond because modern James Bond doesn't work.
I don't know. He could have a villain that tries to cancel him midway through.
Well, we know Amy Pascal and David Heyman are going to do the next movie. So, any chance they do anything that we would like? Base?
Look. I disagree. It wouldn't work. I think it would work. What if you know anything about Robert Eggers? When he writes his films like The Witch or Nosferatu, he writes the dialogue like the way people spoke and even acted back then. It's not just a period piece from the costumes and the wardrobe and the sets. He also makes the language. I mean, The Witch, you can understand almost everything that's said in context. However, that's how people spoke in that era, right? And it's a very different language. You can pick it up in context. It's fine. Why not just set something in the era authentic to that era? What is so hard about that? I think we all know, and you can look at period pieces. Look, I remember seeing movies from the 40s as a kid, black and white, film noir, and what I learned was the way to calm a woman down, it was very easy. Slap her around. You just slap her around.
Yeah, everything is changed.
And that's my thing.
Calm down.
I don't think James Bond was meant to be modernized, man. No. I think James Bond works perfectly in the era that he was in. And I think now, just create something new. Create a new spy thing. Create a new spy character. Leave Bond where he needs to be.
Right.
No, but they're
I also learned if you hold a woman's arms too tightly, she'll say, "Get your meat hooks off of me." I mean, look. No, people don't say that now, but like I find it's quaint. I knew when I was a kid that those film noir thrillers where they calmed women down by hitting them. I knew it was wrong when I was watching it as a kid. It was in context. It's like, oh, that's shocking, But
you know what works well today? Jason Bourne, stuff like that, right?
Yes.
Like that is our Bond of today is Jason Bourne. I don't think we need James Bond in this current era anymore.
Well, I think first of all, I disagree. I think be imaginative, but no one is stopping you from creating a female spy type character and creating something completely new.
But the problem for me is
like a Furiosa.
We know they're not going to give it to us, man. They're not going to give us the Bond we want. They know this.
Tried a female. It's called Citadel, and it's one of the reasons Pascal is now gone.
By the way, go back to that nerdrotic comment. Hey,
that
Gary,
nerdrotic guy.
What are we? Are we doing the nooner on Wednesday or what? Because Alan, we have to talk.
We're in Vegas.
He says, "I totally disagree. That is surrender to modernity."
No, it's not. But here's the thing: it's either that or we risk them again giving us a James Bond we don't want or need or care for. So I'd rather them just let the character die with grace. Just leave him alone.
But my thing about whether Bond would work, it's the idea of if spies still exist in the world today, Bond will work.
They do. There's an elephant in the room. Wait a second. The biggest issue is Hollywood is no longer able to engage the right bad guy. They're afraid. The Chinese Communist Party should be a bad guy in a movie.
Yes,
they are scared to death of having, like back in the day, we would have Russians. They're afraid of Russians now. Now they're Russian mobsters, or like the Maverick movie where they took the jets into the valley of some bad guy. We didn't really know who they were. Why can't they be Iranians? Nope, can't do that.
After 9/11, you couldn't make your villain.
You can't have You can't have crazy ISIS Arabs. I think in some ways even Disney's embarrassed by what the first Iron Man did. Like that was right on the edge of what they might have been able to do, but they didn't do it since. We can't have our bad guys. We will never be attacking the Communist Party of China. And that's a great bad guy.
They won't give us the Bond that we know and love. So I'd rather them just not touch it at all. I'd rather them just move on to something else than continue to taint it. And they're going to. They're going to. They're not going to give us what we want.
Yeah, I mean, no bad, not writing a bad guy, a compelling bad guy, and being afraid to do that. On top of not being able to create, Bond as he is, with all of his faults, but all of his really good qualities as well. That would be considered toxic. So you can't do that.
We can't name the bad guys anymore.
But we also don't know that's totally true. If the whole issue was Salky wanted to water him down and now she's gone, maybe he won't be watered down.
Yeah, it's so funny because if they did that correctly, like so many people would flock to the theaters to watch that movie. They would make so much money, but they won't do that.
But you guys are putting a lot of trust and faith in Amazon for some reason.
I just watched Reacher season 3 where he was a Chad through the whole thing and beat the shit out of it. They clearly see it works. Jeff Bezos put out that poll. Salky's gone. Bro, I can't be black-pilled forever. I got to see some positive.
No, I'm not saying be black-pilled, man, but you're saying to trust Amazon. I'm not going to do that yet. They got to prove to me that they could do some shit.
I've got a treat for you. You may or may not know about the series. It's OSS 117. It's a French series of films about a super sexist spy character. It is a period piece. This is OSS 117 from Africa with Love. This was made in 2021. It's a quick trailer. Would you like to see this?
Sure.
See this. All right. And there's other trailers. So I haven't seen this trailer. So we'll just go through quick.
Josie.
Oui, patron.
Appelez-moi 117. OSS 117. N'êtes-vous pas le meilleur? Je répondrais oui, ça serait de la prétention. Je vous répondrais non, ça serait de la bêtise. Hubert, que savez-vous de l'Afrique? Les Africains sont joyeux, sympathiques. Ils dansent bien. Très bonne analyse, Hubert. Nos amis voient du racisme partout.
Le président vous recevra à 16h.
Parfait. Le temps d'enfiler mon costume colonial. Blanc. Clair. Mon costume clair.
Dans quelques jours, je donne un bal présidentiel au palais pour fêter l'indépendance.
L'indépendance, oui. On m'a dit ça. OSS 117, je vous présente OSS 1001.
117, le vrai, l'unique, la légende.
Vous savez très bien que j'opère toujours en solo. Cette mission, vous allez me la mener tous les deux.
Les rebelles veulent balayer le président Bamba.
Sangawe Bamba est un ignoble dictateur. C'est pour ça que j'ai qu'entreprendre ce pays en main.
Il y a quand même un hic. Et un hic de taille. Vous êtes une femme. Et une femme présidente. Je suis agent secret, pas nourrice.
It's very Pink Panther-y.
T'as quiproquo. Tout est sous contrôle. T'es un peu fatigué, mais enfin, il va se ressaisir.
Pas mal, non? Et là, il a poussé sur l'air. Ah oui, bah si c'est un plan, il va falloir qu'il me l'explique. J'ai un peu de mal à saisir la stratégie.
Mr. Bean.
Chaque espèce, la plus dangereuse soit-elle, a son prédateur. Je suis leur prédateur.
Mais vous n'avez plus de balles.
Oui, mais eux ne le savent pas.
Look, it's an entire series of films. OSS 117. Look it up. Don't tell me it can't be done. The French did it. The French of all people already did. Comedy. It's a comedy. They're leaning into sexism in OSS 117. So check out those movies.
But they're French.
Not to turn Bond into a comedy. It's not. He's not going to become Austin Powers. He's not going to become the original Casino Royale. That's the problem. What we need is a serious Bond that still has all this. Because once you go comedy, you don't take him serious anymore.
And the French aren't afraid of being sexist. Everyone in North America
Yes.
we're afraid of offending everybody.
Yeah.
I just don't think right now a character like James Bond is something that a studio is willing to bank on. I don't think they're willing to go all in on it, which means that they're going to fuck it up. They're going to add stupid things to it. They're going to make him a wimp. He's going to be, partner with a smarter woman. You guys are putting a lot of faith in Amazon, man. I'm saying no. I'm saying leave Bond where he is at this point.
So here's the question: When does James Bond go to public domain?
Right. Oh, it's going to be
that's a great question.
A couple more decades, but